When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Within the gaming world, there are your general gamers, but then there are those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming. If you're one of those that enjoy the dark underbelly of gaming, we certainly got the place to send you. Scorpion Lair Games. That's right, Scorpion Lair Games is the creators of the true crime hit Killers, the card game. Let's not forget they also have Killers Clothing Company, their profiler game, and things like the 5-Minute Murder channel on YouTube. And we certainly can't forget the new book that is certainly a hit, Beyond the Headliners, True Crimes, Myths, and Legends. Make sure you visit Jeff and the Scorpion Lair Games on Facebook and everywhere today.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Jones, the first African American Radio City Music Hall Rockette, author and actor, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this next guest is certainly a trailblazer in many ways. She has won a Tony Award for being a part of the best revival of a musical, Happy 42nd Street. She has performed at a Super Bowl halftime show as part of the famous Rockettes. But when I say trailblazer, she was the first African American Rockette to perform on the line. She is also the author of 2 books, but we will certainly cover it all. Let's welcome Miss Jennifer Jones. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm breathing, so it's got to count for something. So I know you are a gal from New York and North Jersey. So I guess I'll throw this curveball at you right away. When you think back to your childhood and stuff, could you ever imagined that you would have accomplished what you've accomplished so far up to today?
Oh, that's a great question. And looking back, I could never imagine the life that I have so far lived. Um, I just knew at a young age that I had a love of dance. I had a love of the stage. And I'm so thankful for my parents to have given me the opportunity to take dance classes, and for my fourth grade teacher, Mr. Giuliano, who introduced me to the love of the stage. Teachers are so important in enriching children's lives. Um, and I'm thankful that I had the fortitude to really go after just wanting to dance on a stage, but I could never have imagined that I would be opening doors for other Black women to call themselves Radio City Music Hall Rockettes.
Well, before I dive more into it, I want to be a gentleman, if I may. Our friend of the show, Miss Latrice Carter, who has her own deal with horror movie Warriors. Latrice, I would like to know, because we were talking a little bit before Miss Jones joined us. Did you have anything in mind you'd like to start with?
How did it happen? How did you come across the Rockettes, and how did
Mm.
you go about auditioning?
Um, when I started my true dance journey of wanting to become a professional dancer in New York, my dream was Broadway. My parents were avid Broadway goers. They went to see all the latest and greatest Broadway shows with Ben Vereen, Melba Moore, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh yeah.
And when The Wiz came to Broadway with the greats of
Oh
Stephanie Mills and
yes.
Mabel King and Hidden Battle, they took my sister and I to see that show 5 times. And each time I saw that show, it solidified in me the more that I absolutely needed to be on a stage and needed to dance. And that was at such a young age. That was like 9 or 10 years old. But I didn't know the ropes of auditioning or the practice or the talent that you really needed to have to make it onto a Broadway stage. So when I initially went into New York, learning the ropes, my goal was to be on Broadway. I studied at Broadway Dance Center under Frank Hatchett, who was my mentor. And the Backstage Paper was a publication that came out every week with the auditions. And my friends and I, we would go through the publication, and I was looking for my big Broadway break. And the Rockettes were having an audition. And my friend said, Jennifer, you should go to this audition. You'd make a perfect Rockette. I didn't know who the Rockettes were. My parents never took me to see them. I wasn't familiar with Radio City Music Hall. And I was just like, I don't know. But being very green and nervous and intimidated at auditions the morning of, I decided to go to the audition. And when I arrived at the music hall at 10 o'clock, there were a line of ladies wrapped around who knew how to do their hair, who knew how to do their makeup. They knew what audition clothes to wear. And I got at the back of the line and I thought, they are never going to pick me. I didn't see another Black dancer on the line. And I looked at my watch and I said, if I leave right now, I can make it to Frank's intermediate jazz class. And I thought about the idea numerous times. And just as I was about to step off the line and head up to Broadway Dance Center, my inner voice pushed me back in the line, like so much so that I felt like a force that I just stayed. And if I did not stay on the audition line, I never would have made it to the Rockette line. And it is so important that we all listen to that inner voice that we have in which direction we should go in life. And if I didn't listen to that voice, I never would have been the first Black Rockette and be able to open up these doors for the other ladies.
Amen.
So I want to put a little historical bit here. because
The
that's
origins
usually my
of the Rockettes
alley,
can actually
would
be
the
traced back
degree
to
and such,
1925,
that
where
because
the
at the time
Persiano
Jennifer wasn't familiar
Russell
with the Rockettes.
Margaret of St. Louis, Missouri, built a group of women dancers as the Missouri Rockettes. In 1932-33, they opened at the Radio City Music Hall in New York City, and shortly after the Rockettes became world famous. The Rockettes are celebrating 100 years of precision, athleticism, and sisterhood going into 2025 and 26. Many of their major landmark moments include starring in the Christmas Spectacular, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Christmas in Rockefeller Center, the tree lighting, and entertaining groups such as during the times of World War II and post throughout the years.
I found it interesting during your audition, and apparently you didn't have some of the stuff that most people would have, like a resume, your tap shoes, headshots, all that stuff. But you ended up being asked to come back for another round of auditions, but they said, please bring this stuff. So can you talk about that experience once you got through the line and did the first audition?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I was very new in the business, very green, and I went to this audition to learn how to audition better and not be so intimidated. So we were in the small rehearsal hall, and they would call us into groups of maybe 15 to 20 girls at a time. And when the stage manager called our name, we were supposed to get in line with our comp card, which was a paper that they had asked us to fill out with basic information, our name, our height, where we live. And he said, bring your comp card, your picture and resume, and have your tap shoes in hand. He called my name and I got in line with my comp card. I did not have my picture and resume, and I did not have my tap shoes. So, note taken. I we went into the large rehearsal hall, and in front of the room, there were about 15 people judging the audition. And first of all was the height requirement. If you didn't make height, you were not allowed to dance. And then we were asked to put on our tap shoes. So I made the height requirement and I put on my character shoes. And the choreographer at the time was Violet Holmes, who Russell Market had given her the Rockette line upon his retirement. And Violet had a very interesting way of teaching. Instead of the typical 5, 6, 7, 8 that dancers are used to hearing, she taught in the way she heard the taps in her head, ba-diddly dee, ba-diddly da, ba-diddly diddly da. So I also learned in this audition we have to adapt to our choreographers and how they teach, no matter if it's on a great stage or in an audition room. So I bediddled and I bedaddled in my character shoes, and they were casting for a Super Bowl 22 halftime show as well as the Cheetah Rivera tour. So we had to show off our can kicks and our jump splits as well as the classic iconic Rockette eye high kicks. After the audition was over, the stage manager tapped me on my shoulder and said, Jennifer, we are giving you a call back. Bring your picture and resume and bring your tap shoes. I was living in New York at the time. I ran home. I got an old high school modeling headshot. I printed out a limited resume at Kinko's, and I grabbed my tap shoes. And a few days later, I was back in the large rehearsal hall. And at that time, there weren't as many ladies in the room, but there was one other Black dancer.
Interesting.
Now, and God bless Kinko's. And yeah, that's for sure.
I know. There were no cell
Oh,
phones back then. There wasn't the internet. And upon going to the audition, there was no way for me to look up to see who the Rockettes were or what they did. It was back in 1987 when this happened. So I had to learn about all of the Rockettes and their history, which is intriguing on my own.
Yeah, definitely quick education. There wasn't that fancy Google machine and
Yes.
okay, what do we got here? But while we're there, and Latrice, like I said in the chat, if you have something, please let me know, and we'll because I did send her the notes they didn't want to download for some odd reason. The
Oh.
internet. Urgh. But
Speaking of
no,
which.
yeah. We're not the good and the bad with the internet. But
Yeah.
so how do you reflect on
Mhm.
the journey of the Rockettes, not only being the first black woman to
Yeah.
be a Rockette, but there's a lot of triumphs and challenges. So, and there's, like you said, the intense audition process to make sure you meet the physical demands and the competitive nature. So, as a 19-year-old girl at the time, how did you take all this in to be able to succeed?
Um, it At 19 years old, I did not know the magnitude of what was happening, to be the first Black woman to dance on this line. Like I said, I did not even know who the Rockettes were. It would take years for me to learn what this magnitude was. And part of it was the history of the Rockettes and Russell Market and his incredible idea to have this line of ladies and the mathematics that it takes for the formations to exist. And if I could just go back, I know you said that you have a link, but if I could just briefly talk about the history of the Rockettes. Russell Market founded the Rockettes in 1925 in St. Louis, Missouri, and his idea was based off the British Taylor Girls. And he thought that if he could get a group of American ladies to do intricate tap steps and do eye high kicks at the end, he would knock the American people's socks off. So in 1925, Black performers were not allowed to dance on the same stage as white performers. So having an all white line in 1925 was not uncommon. And as we go through history, this is why we have like incredible Black dance companies like Dance Theater of Harlem and Alvin Ailey. But you would think, under the backdrop of New York City in 1987, there would have been a Black dancer. So there was a lot of controversy, and there was Hazel N. Dukes from the NAACP who kept knocking at Radio City's door saying you are not an equal opportunity employer. And I think it was because of that weight, that Radio City decided to hire a Black woman. And when I came onto the line, of course, when there is change, there is great resistance. There were some ladies who were welcoming and they wanted to have a Black woman on the line, and they were said, finally, it's about time. People in management, they were very welcoming. But of course, there were some ladies who were resistant to the change and they made it known, as well as some people in management who wanted me to fail, and kind of be like, see, well, we tried to hire a Black girl and it just didn't work out. But it was my perseverance and my pure love of dance and wanting to dance on a great stage that no one was allowed to take that dream away from me.
From a talent perspective, and I talk about this all the time when we bring up serious subjects like race and all that stuff. And obviously, people hear stories like a Jackie Robinson and Hank Aaron and in other sports and entertainment, being the first and barrier breakers and stuff. But from a talent perspective, do you think you were the right person for the right time with your talent and expertise and all? Because there's so many great dancers and so many great, that probably could have filled those shoes. But and I know you're a humble woman, but do you think you were the right person to be in that place at that time, looking back at with your eyes from 2026?
I absolutely 100% think that I am the right person. I was there for a reason. I feel like the universe puts you in certain places. Um, I think I was the perfect Rockette. I leaned into the ladies who wanted me there, who taught me the skills, who taught me to do those high kicks. And I loved every second that I was a Radio City Music Hall Rockette. Yes, I do feel that I was ready. I had the talent, and I had the Rockette grace and eloquence and elegance that they have.
But Latrice, I think you can agree with me here in a few minutes that we have been talking with Miss Jennifer that it's not just the Rockette grace and elegance and all. It's just she has all that as a person. So would you agree with that?
Yes. Yes, I would. And you
Thank
actually answered the question that I had for you. I was going to ask you how the other ladies took to you, being a Black woman, and um, did they and you pretty much answered it. Did they accept you?
Yeah, so like I said, I really had to learn what ladies really wanted change and diversity and inclusivity on the line. And I leaned into them to teach me that Rockette terminology and language and eloquence. And there were ladies who made it clear that I was
Mm.
not welcome. I speak publicly about actually a person in management, one of the PR ladies who took me aside right before my Super Bowl halftime show. And she told me that I was old news. Nobody cared about me. Nobody cared about my story. I was lucky to be there.
Oh
And
my God.
I carried all of those words. I believed her. She was in PR. I thought I was old news. Nobody cared about having the first Black woman on the line. And I carried those words and that weight into so many situations in my professional and personal life that I should never have been in, and that I should have gone for the stars in my professional life. And it would be years for me to pull back those layers and realize that she was prejudiced against me and did not want the inclusivity or
Mm.
diversity in the line. So she that was one way to set me up to fail right before my Super Bowl halftime show, to go out on this grand stage in a football stadium that's being televised, and maybe she'll mess up on the kick line, or maybe she'll miss a tap step. But I did not let her words affect, again, my love of dance, my love of the stage, and that purity
Right.
that I had at such a young age. And that challenge and peeling back those layers have allowed me to speak publicly about it, and hopefully encourage others who have challenges that come into their lives, or people who speak negatively about them following their dreams, to pursue that no matter what.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I was doing some homework, and as I mentioned in the introduction, and I know it's scary, I tried to confirm things on multiple sources what was wrong with me. But you you actually, like I said, were part of the Tony Award winning for Best Revival on a Music in 42nd Street, but you appeared at the Tonys in 91 as well. So what was that like to be able to win such a highly regarded award and being part of that ensemble?
Being a part of 42nd Street, the musical, the revival, um, and actually living out my Broadway dream that I had as a child, was something that I could never have imagined. It's still very surreal. And what I love about winning that Tony Award was that we were the opening act for the Tony Awards that season in 2001. And the awards were taking place at Radio City Music Hall. So it was me coming back as a Broadway performer at Radio City. It was a full circle moment, and
Yep.
actually winning the Tony Award for Best Revival of a Musical. That was the universe talking to me. It was amazing.
Were your parents able to take that in? Because, like you said, as your child, or as a child, your parents would take you to shows and stuff on Broadway and different things. Were they able to see that and be able to take in that experience of look at our daughter and have that proud parental moment?
Absolutely. My parents have been so supportive of the growth that I've been having throughout my professional career, and knowing that they laid the foundation is also their reflection of, how they raised me and my sisters.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Are they still alive? Your parents are still
Yes,
alive?
they are.
Awesome.
Yes, my mother lives 10 minutes away from me, and my father is in the Caribbean islands.
oh, nice. Yeah.
How
And,
cool.
it's interesting because as we told Jennifer when we were logging into the room, we were talking about her books. And Latrice had mentioned that she would is going to try, and I'm going to try to help her track one down, a copy of Becoming Spectacular, The Rhythm of Resistance, which is your biography, autobiography. But you also have, and I want to see if I'm going to try to order one for her son as well, because Latrice has a 9-year old son of the
Yes.
children's book On the Line, my story of becoming the first African American Rockette. And I think that would be an interesting book for him to read as well.
Yes.
So I will work on that as
Absolutely.
well.
I wrote my children's book because, like I said, I knew at such a young age what I wanted to do. And whatever the child wants to do, whether it's becoming a chef or an astronaut or a soccer player or a teacher, and knowing that at a young age, to continue with that passion that they have. And what I love most about the book is the end, where I hope it fosters a conversation between the parent and child about what that child loves to do most in the world. And it may not, be something that the parent ever thought of, or have a teacher have a conversation with their class. I love going to schools and doing school readings and learning what these children, what their passion is, and really instilling in them never to let go of what their gift is to the world.
Absolutely. I
Amen.
want to be, yes, thank you, Latrice. Definitely amen. But the one thing, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but I do want to ask the one real serious question is, how are you doing? I know you are a cancer survivor, and how did you
Yes.
find experience or find the strength to get through everything?
Yes, I am a colorectal cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2018 with stage 3 colorectal cancer, which came as a complete surprise after being a professional dancer, exercising every day of my life, being vegetarian at that time for 25 years. Um, it was devastating to learn. And a wave of shame and embarrassment came over, in which I did not even tell my family for a month. Um, After changing doctors and coming to terms with my diagnosis, I did 8 rounds of chemotherapy. And I went through surgery in 2018, the end of 2018. And then in January of 2019, I was deemed cancer free. And colorectal cancer is becoming the number one cancer that is killing younger adults, and no one knows why. And I want to say that if anyone is having digestive issues and your doctor is not willing to give you a colonoscopy, go to another doctor. This disease is being found in younger and younger adults, and it's not being diagnosed properly. And the way that we can make this a beatable situation is being diagnosed early, and that can be done.
And I am a double cancer survivor from in my 20s as well. Well, in my 20, I shouldn't say as well. In my 20s, I was a double cancer survivor. But
Mm.
This is why I
Wow.
always this is why I always say I don't care who you are, what you are, doesn't across the board. Go get your physicals, whether it's
Yes.
your mammogram, your colonoscopy, your stay, across the board for all the tests. So please get checked, get your annual checkups. Please just so to be on that serious topic though, was this something that you noticed something wasn't right, or was it just like an annual checkup this that found your diagnosis?
At the time, I had just turned 50, which was the age to get screened at the time. It has since been lowered to the age of 45. And I thought, there was something off. I was kind of bloated a little bit more. My stomach was, not feeling too well. And I just thought, oh, I just turned 50. These things happen. But as time went on, and I had already planned to get a colonoscopy, but when I did, it was stage 3, which was unbelievable to me. Um, and luckily, I took to the chemotherapy treatments. But it is, like you said, just to piggyback, it is so important to stay on top of your exams. And look, I know it's a pain in the neck to make these appointments, to get prodded and poked and everything, but they are so necessary and it can save your life.
Absolutely. And I don't know how many people will hear that, but please, just for your own peace of mind, if anything else, just do the tests. It's a lot better to be poked and prodded and have the test than find
Yes.
out later something else was.
Right.
Right. And know your family history. That is
Yes,
another important thing. I am also considered a high risk breast cancer patient. So I have to go every, 6 months for mammograms and ultrasounds and MRIs with contrast. And it's not fun, but I have to do it.
yeah, you have to think big picture. Get the
Yes.
test done, and it's better for your sanity. Trust me, coming from a double survivor,
Yes.
at least on my end. All right, let's wrap things up on a positive note, though. And I think this was, and I double checked this morning, and maybe you would know dates on this because this year out at the Hollywood Museum, there was an exhibit. The, the joint is jumping, and they have more than 50 different entertainers represented. But try this in English. Yeah. There's more than 50 different entertainers represented in this exhibit. And it's a celebration of black entertainers from film, TV, song, stage, the whole gamut. And you are fortunate enough to be one of those people as part of the exhibit. So,
Yeah.
how is that for you when you go through the list of so many people that are worthy to be one of these 50 entertainers in this exhibit?
When I learned that they wanted some of my artifacts for This Joint is Jumping at the Hollywood Museum, I, first of all, I couldn't believe it. Again, another surreal moment to be along the likes of Muhammad Ali and Whitney Houston and Wesley Snipes. It, 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 it's still very moving and touching and another milestone in my life. But I just feel so blessed and honored to have my artifacts in there in such a prestigious place.
Now, do you know how, and this is where I was saying about the dates, do you know how long that exhibit's going to be available? Because I wasn't sure if it was just for when I saw it was opened in February, but I wasn't sure
Yes.
if it's how long this thing's going to be out there if people want to go see it.
My artifacts are still there. I don't have a date yet as when the exhibit is over, but my artifacts are still there, and I hope people can go to this. It's an incredible museum, 2 floors and a restaurant next to it. It's an all-day event. It's just absolutely stunning.
Miss Latrice, as we put a
Yes,
bow on
sir.
things, as we put a bow on things, and I will put links to Miss Jones's IG and everything, and the museum, obviously. Is there something you would like to throw out there as we wrap up?
Yes. It was such an honor to meet you, ma'am. Uh, you you're so graceful. I love the way you speak.
Thank you.
And I just think that, well, kudos to you, Jonathan, for having her on and for giving us a platform to speak as African American women. Not a lot of Caucasian men, especially, would do that. And I think it speaks volumes as to how far we have come, from the racial barriers of yesteryear. And I'm not saying that we, still have more to go. We've come
In
so
some
far, but
ways,
we
you do.
still have so far to
There's,
go,
there's still, yeah.
And
I appreciate that.
oh yeah, most definitely. And we appreciate you. And I appreciate um, uh, Miss Jones here being the first African American woman to actually be a Rockette. And where at a time where that wasn't going to happen. And I absolutely believe that you were meant to be the first one.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I appreciate you thanking me, Latrice, but I don't need to be thanked, I don't think, because I'm all about telling these stories, such as Jennifer's, to if we're going to improve, and I'm not going to get on that soapbox, because yes, there's a lot of ways to go
Yeah.
in some aspects, as you were referencing, Latrice. If we're going to move forward as we continue to grow, these stories need to be told and need to be heard. So that's
Oh
why
yeah.
it's important for me to be able to, if I can facilitate one or two people even to hear Jennifer's story and how she accomplished so much. I'm grateful to be able to say I did that.
Yes. And see that I am a big believer also how if we don't speak about these things, we will never grow and we will never we will never have that the respect and love of one another if we don't, come together and at least talk.
Yeah.
And this, I'm not going to get into it there, but there was a situation the other day with another friend of mine in the entertainment world. Sadly, people didn't want to talk, but we'll leave that alone. But Jennifer, where can people? Is it the Instagram that people can find you as the best spot, or where can people come learn about your story and everything?
They can find me on my website, theofficialjenniferjones.com, or Instagram, official Jennifer Jones. They can also find me on Facebook at Rockette Jen. I would love to have people learn more about me. I talk about my career and colorectal cancer.
Absolutely. Well, we will make sure we send people that way. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out through her site and the social media. Jennifer Jones, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for being a classy woman that you are. And I know this is real, even though we just met. I could tell it's genuine. So thank you for being you and just everything you've accomplished.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your show. I truly appreciate your time and willing to speak to me. And Latrice, it was such a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah,
You are a
you as
very
well.
warm woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey folks, looking for the ultimate destination for the nerd enthusiasts and collectors? Well, we found the spot for you. Nerds Nest Collectibles is a haven for nerds, geeks, and fans alike, as they have many different products and certainly more to come. Make sure you go ahead and visit them at nerdsnestcollectibles.com. Check them out.
Hi, this is Toy Newkirk, Sheila from Nightmare on Elm Street, and you're listening to Crazy Train Radio.